All right. Hello, everyone. Michael Lopez here from 008 Studios, and welcome to a new, small, quick segment that I've dubbed Right and Wrong. And that's right as in writing, but I guess we'll get the gist of it. This is a mostly unedited segment, as I guess similar to our podcast, Novel Spirit. I don't really care for a lot of flashy stuff. I just kind of want to get my points across and then help you all develop your creations as best as possible. But in the future, if time and budget allows, who knows, this might become a thing. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. I promise it month after month after month, but just time has been escaping me. We'll see how this goes. So for those that do not know me, or who have not been watching the podcast or any of the other earlier videos, or know nothing about 008 Studios or the channel, my name is Michael Lopez. I am the owner of, again, 008 Studios, and we are a studio first kind of neutral entity that focuses on the creation of books, comic games. We aim to bring stories to life. I'm personally for The Eternal Crown, which is my debut series. Book 2 is coming to y'all at the end of this year, hopefully. And also Icarus Origins, which is the studio's debut comic, and one of our largest sci-fi transmedia project, where we'll have a book, comic, and a game, all telling different parts of one giant story. But more to follow from there. I'm a writer, I'm a developer, specifically a narrative designer. I do some programming on the side. I love what I do. I've been in the industry for a while now. And I just want to make sure that anyone who's starting off has questions, answers that I didn't have answered, or that has all the available resources to do exactly what most AAA publishers do, whether you're a writer, a game developer, or application developer, or anything, or an artist, or anything like that. Now, off the get-go, don't let the name fool you. Ultimately, I believe writing is subjective. There isn't a real right or wrong, except for the rules that we already know about, such as punctuation, grammar, and I'm not going to really nitpick at any of that. Again, this is just to try and give you guys some advice on how to, bring your own stories to life. You guys can reach out to the studio or need me for assistance. I got a lot of ways that you guys can reach out: Patreon, the site, the YouTube, all the social media platforms, for assistance. But with these tools in hand, you guys should be able to do your own thing. For this video, I want to focus on a recent question from some of our starting collabs, which is really, step one: how do I start? Or more importantly, how do I finish my book one? And a lot of the other writers that are in the studio have given their advice, and I wanted to break it down a little bit with the tips that were given. As always, if it were easy, the truth is everybody would already be doing it. It is a challenge, it's an obstacle that you need to kind of overcome. But I guess that's why whenever it does happen, it's an achievement to be proud of. So I guess that's the thing with any challenge you go. So the tips and tricks that we got, some of the experienced writers there, such as Miss Jordan Michelle, ZV Steele, a few other indie writers that just published their debuts and just crossed that finish line, are, pacing, project management, goal setting, and stuff like that. And I'll go into details with a few of these. But let's start with pacing yourself. That seems like the most basic tip that you could possibly get. And the truth is that a lot of people don't realize the importance of this. And again, if you've listened to the podcast, you hear a lot of us talk about, hey, yeah, we're going to be doing a race, this weekend or this month or whatever the case may be. If you do any sort of activity, like physical activity, you know that if you start off strong, it's going to be harder for you to finish strong unless you're doing something that's, scoped down and specifically scaled to your abilities. If you start off slow, then it's going to be very hard to build up. So there has to be that healthy balance. And what I've found is basically to tools like Readsy or some other writing platforms may assist in setting a pace for yourself. What I found is if you can find a pace that's consistent and just worry about meeting that pace at least on a day-to-day basis or every other day, then that's all it really takes. And what I mean by that is set a goal, and then not kind of like the other side, but set a goal for, I don't know, 300 words a day, right? And you can write the minimum every single day, or you can just write as much as you can and say, hey, I crossed the finish line, 300 words, whatever, and go from there. But as long as you meet that 300-day minimum, in a month's time, 2 months' time, depending on what you're trying to write, you will reach that finish line and you won't feel that burnout or that exhaustion that comes with a lot of these projects. And it really does sound simple, but a lot of people underestimate. A lot of people will write, 2,000, 3,000 words the first couple of weeks, and then they'll come to the very end of it, like the last 2 chapters, and it's like, oh, well, now I've hit this wall, I'm burnt out, I've got writer's block, and I can't even write 20 words right now. So really set that ahead of time, and then, see where it goes. If you do that tip and you still run into same issues, then one of the other things that you can do would be taking your mind off of it temporarily. This is the jump around tip. Jump around temporarily with another project or something else. So for example, if you've ever written an essay for school or an article or anything like that, and you've tried to do like some self-editing, the first couple of times that you go over it, right when it's fresh in your mind has kind of like an automatic bias. So you're going to breeze over some mistakes that you didn't see before. You got to step away from it, 2 hours later, come back, and then, do the self-editing again. Then maybe you'll catch a few more mistakes that way. Well, just like that, if you are writing and you hit that writer's block or you hit that burnout, if you have something else that requires the same skill, or actually if you have something else that, in general, take your mind off of the project, go do that instead, and come back to it, and you'll be surprised how much help that reset actually is. Now, the one thing that I have to caution about with this tip is if you have multiple projects, right, writing projects or development projects or whatever the case may be, and you jump around too much, eventually you'll get a long list of unfinished projects, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be very intimidating once you see the size of the list or whatever the case may be. Or it can be kind of like a big shutdown, like of motivation. Like you just don't want to work on anything before because you're convinced that you're not going to finish it. Jump around and see how that works for you. And if it doesn't work, then 2, take that as a setup for this kind of tip or an opportunity, because you may have a lot of projects that, come out short of the finish line, but then again, when you're coming out with a new project or a new title, there's stuff that you have written down already that is actually archived or stored in history that you can just pick ideas from. And think of it not as unfinished projects. You're creating a library for yourself, a personal library with your ideas, your writing style, your writing methods that you can pick and choose stuff for, your end result. But for some people, that jumping around thing kind of works. It kind of joggles the mind a little bit and then kind of gives you that boost that you need to cross that finish line. For some people, like I said, it kind of creates more problems than it's worth. So just be careful with that one. But it is something that has worked in the past. And then along with that pacing, right? So like you said, that 300 words a month. One of the things that you can do is set your goal for the project that you're working on. A lot of people have this mentality where, if I launch this book, it's going to be my golden ticket to fame and fortune, or if I'm going to start, I have to go big or I have to go home. I have to finish this, open world RPG, or I have to finish this like giant, epic journey, like, the Lord of the Rings size type deal. And that's not really the case. You have to start small. And what you can do is you can take a look at all the sizing opportunities that are out there. So like, for example, and I think I have these written down for you: to flash fiction, 300 words to 1,500 words; a short story, 1,500 to 10,000 words; novelette, which is 75 to 20,000 words; novella, 30,000 to 50,000 words; and a novel, 58,000 and above. These are just some examples that I found online, but if you have kind of like this tier system that you can kind of reference and then set your projects according to that size, if you finish a flash fiction first, then you know you can move on to the next step and go short story. If you finish a short story, then you know you can move on to a novelette, and then a novella, and then a novel. And you can use this as practice and have a whole bunch of different ideas. So you can write a flash fiction of something entirely, unrelated to what you had in mind. You see this a lot with words escaped me anyway. So you can write a flash fiction about one thing, and then you can write a short story about another thing, and then a novel about another thing. Or what you can do, and this is again towards that end goal, how to finish your debut, you can write a flash fiction first and make that, like about a chapter about the story that you had in mind. Then you can write 2 more chapters and put them together, and hey, you got yourself a short story. You can keep going and going, just write, a little bit more, tweak up those chapters, add a little bit more fluff here and there, and then suddenly you've reached that 8,000 word, 10,000 word limit, and you have yourself a little novelette. You can push that out online, get some feedback, get some commentary, and just keep building and building and building. And there is no shame in stopping at a certain tier. So don't think that your number one debut item has to be a novel. You can publish a novella, you can publish a novelette the same way that you do everything else, and just establish your portfolio like that. If you are comfortable telling a story, from beginning to end, having a set climax, and you have kind of like a talent for telling short stories, then work on your short stories. There are different types of writing styles and kind of writing tiers, and everyone fits in differently. There's no shame in claiming one and sticking to it and then exploring something later. The point is, practice makes perfect. Now, with all these tips, the pacing, the jumping around, the setting goals, and the sizing and all that stuff, I think the most important thing is to keep a level of excitement with your project, because if you're trying to write about something that you're not passionate about, it becomes work. It becomes an essay. It becomes something that you dredged on about, like in school or something like that. You want to keep that level of excitement up. And the way you do that is by consuming media. So you have an idea for a medieval fantasy. You want to go and watch medieval movies, read medieval books, get some ideas, some references, some inspiration. You want to listen to music, whatever the case may be, whatever gets your blood going about that idea that you originally had. There's a running joke about, where ideas are born, the best ideas are born in the shower, or whatever the case may be. If you got to step in the shower for like 10 minutes and just sit there and think about something, then go ahead and do it. If you want to go for a drive and just kind of picture it in your head, if you want to use a voice to text app and just talk about your idea and then come back to those ideas, copy and paste everything or send them to like your email, and then tweak them on Microsoft Word or on Google Docs or whatever the case may be, you can do that. But you have that level of excitement about it. Talk to other people, writers, non-writers, get feedback from all other angles. I know that ultimately a lot of this comes down to wanting this to be successful, but just like there's different tiers of writing, and there's also different tiers of success. You want, when you want to sell it, you want to make money, you want to monetize it, but really you want to write for yourself. You want to be a little bit prideful about the project. You want to be you want to release something that you want to go off to your friends and family, stuff like that. So that level of excitement is important. Another thing that I can personally kind of vouch for is not just keeping that level of excitement for yourself, but if you get somebody up for it, they may have a level of accountability for you, like, hey, how's your book going? Or hey, are you still on track for finishing this month? Or hey, do you have another chapter I can read, or something like that? Finding yourself a partner to work with is also a very helpful tip. Now, all of these are just tips and tricks of the trade. Some of you may have some other kind of means of getting your stuff done. And I encourage you guys to kind of leave comments on how to do it, or where you do it. Like if you have a tool like Reetsy, like I said before, or if you have any links to some other resources that people can use, but feel free to drop your ideas, and then maybe we can talk about it in some later episodes. Again, remember that there is no right or wrong literally with how to do this. Again, you can choose all of them. You can choose one or get the other. It works differently for everybody. But that's really about it. I just wanted to give you guys some tips and tricks of how to get started. Later on, I might put some work on the screen and kind of work through some of the grammar and the punctuation that I wouldn't touch. But really, I just want to make sure that you guys have these resources. So if you guys like this video, if it was helpful for you, please like and subscribe, leave that comment, and we'll see where this goes. So thanks again for standing by, guys, and cheers, as always.